Hello, grade 10. I'm here again and I will explain your activity sheets in your quarter 1, week 2. This activity sheet is entitled Three Types of Plate Boundaries. What are plate boundaries again? Plate boundaries are the segments or parts of the ground that are said to be connected and they are capable of moving, and that is what we call plate tectonics. Okay, let's move on. So here is the first point to remember. The first type of plate boundary is convergent boundary, which happens where two plates push or collide against each other or one another. So, the first plate boundary that we have here is called convergent. When we say convergent, they collide, they meet. Okay? So, there are three possible collision or convergence of plates. Plates are the segments of the ground. The first possible collision is called or between oceanic crust and oceanic crust. As you can recall, oceanic crust is the crust under the ocean. In Filipino, ito yung lupa sa ilalim ng karagatan or tubig. Okay, what is this? First, convergence. Again, between oceanic and oceanic. So, they are both dense. In Filipino, pareho silang mabigat at siksik. As I've taught before, oceanic crust tends to subduct or go down. And when it goes down and reaches the mantle or the second layer of the earth, it will be melted. Why? Because in the mantle is extreme temperature. In Filipino, sobrang mainit sa mantle. So, kahit anong makarating doon ay matutunaw. And as you can see in the illustration, as this part of the other oceanic crust is moving down or subducting, melting is happening and there is magma being formed. So, when there is magma under, automatically, there will be a volcano on top that is being formed. Alright, so always remember that whenever oceanic crust is involved in a collision or convergence, there is always a magma being formed under because of the process subduction. In Filipino, basta kasali ang oceanic crust sa banggaan or pagsasalubong ng lupa, laging may subduction na nangyayari. Ano yung subduction, guys? Ito yung paglubog ng lupa tuloy-tuloy hanggang makarating sa mantle. Kapag nakarating sa mantle, matutunaw siya kasi sobrang init doon. Kapag natunaw, anong nabuo? Magma. At kapag may magma, natural, ang mabubuong landform or anyong lupa is syempre vulkan. Ito follow my highlighter. May magma sa ilalim, kaya merong bulkan sa ibabaw. And usually, when this kind of collision happens, what are formed on top of the crust? So as you can see in the picture, we have their trench. What else? We also have island arc. Why trench? Because there is subduction, and when we say trench, that is a very deep part of the ocean. Alright, so this is the first possible collision convergence or meeting of two plates. Oceanic versus oceanic. Okay, let's move on. The second possible collision or convergence of crust is between oceanic crust and continental crust. Alright, what happens here? The denser oceanic plate is subducted. What is subducted? It moves downward, often forming a mountain range on the continent. The Andes is an example of this type of collision. So, in the first collision between two oceanic crusts, volcano, island arc, and trench are formed. In this kind of collision, or in Filipino, banggaan, there is a mountain range on the continent that is being formed. Why in the continental crust? Because the tendency of this continental crust is to go up. As I've taught you before, this continental crust is thick but is less dense. In Filipino, so I always want to translate because I know that not all of us understand English very well, and translating it in Filipino makes it better. Alright. Bakit sa continental crust nabubuo ang mountain range? Kasi nga, si continental crust, mas makapal siya pero mas magaan. So, kapag nakipagbanggaan siya kay oceanic crust, ang tendency niya ay pataas. Samantalang itong si oceanic crust, mabigat, kaya palubog. Syempre, tumaas si continental crust, kaya nakabuo ng mountain range. What is mountain range? Group of mountains. It is also written here, volcanic arc. Why volcanic arc? Because there is subduction. As I've said a while back, whenever oceanic crust is involved in a collision, there is subduction. Laging may paglubog na nangyayari basta kasali sa banggaan si oceanic crust kasi nga mabigat siya. So, nung lumubog si oceanic crust, nakarating ulit kay mantle, natunaw, nagkaroon ng magma, at nagkaroon din ng trench. Si continental crust naman, tumaas siya, kaya nakabuo rin ng mountain range at saka volcanic arc kasi nga meron pa ring magma sa ilalim because oceanic crust is involved in this collision, convergence, or meeting. Again, we are still under convergent boundary. Banggaan ng lupa or the segments called plates. Okay, we move on. The third possible collision, meeting, or convergence is between both continental crust. Or it is written here, continental crust versus continental crust. Alright, so there is no oceanic crust involved. So, automatically, there is no subduction. Walang paglubog na mangyayari because they are both continental and they don't subduct. They don't want to go down, but they tend to go up. Both of them will go up, guys. Let me read this. Both continental crusts are too light to subduct. In Filipino, pareho daw silang magaan para makapag-subduct or lumubog. So, a continent-continent collision occurs, creating especially large mountain ranges. The most spectacular example of this is the Himalayas. Alright, so this is the scientific explanation why mountain ranges are formed. But as you can read on the picture, aside from mountain range, there is also a high plateau being formed as a result of this kind of collision, continental crust versus continental. What kind of boundary are we discussing here? Is still convergent boundary. So when we say converge, you meet. That's why in our church, the youth gathering of our local church is called convergence. Because when we say convergence, to come together. Nirelate ko lang ano. But that is what is meant by convergent, to come together, to meet. But in this earth science, convergent means to collide. Next. The second, this is the second point to remember in your activity sheet, this orange. But of course, you have your black and white. The next type is divergent boundary. It happens where two plates are moving away from each other or separate or gradually break apart. This is just actually the counterpart or the opposite of convergent boundary. So in love life, when we say diverge, then you break up. I hope these pictures will help you because they are colored, and in your activity sheets you have your black and white. Okay, so there are two possible divergence of plates. In Filipino, may dalawang uri daw ng paghihiwalay ang lupa. Mga posibleng uri ng paghihiwalay. First is the breakup or divergence on land. Paghihiwalay ng lupa sa continental crust. What happens here? Divergent boundaries within continents initially produce rift, which produce rift valleys. Parang mga bangin na tinatawag. Bakit may mga bangin tayo? Alright, because of plate divergence. The surface, or not actually the surface, just the plate boundaries that are divergent break apart. Look at this picture. As the divergent boundaries break apart, this molten part of the ground under, which is magma, has the tendency to come out or go out of the Earth's surface. And there could be a possibility that this part of the continent will be widened. In Filipino, lalapad. Why? Because this coming out magma, which is called lava, if it has already reached the surface of the ground, will be the new surface of this land. So in Filipino, mawawiden, lalapad, kasi lalabas si magma, magiging lava na, ang tawag kapag nakalabas na, matutuyo. So magiging bago siyang surface of this continent part. Again, what are produced when divergence happens on land? We have reef and eventually reef valleys. Tandaan nyo na, meron yan sa aanseran mamaya. Kaya nga kasali sa point to remember. Look at the picture. This brown is the continental crust, and the next layer, of course, is the mantle where magma is formed. Next, the second type of divergence or breaking up of the ground happens under the sea. Under the sea. Sa ilalim ng katubigan or karagatan. Let me read it. The most ito pa, sa orange. The next type, nabasa ko na pala yan, Andito na ako sa second type of divergence, which happens under the sea. Nalilito na ako. The most active divergent plate boundaries are between oceanic plates and are often called mid-oceanic ridges. So, in Filipino, kung ano man yung mga anyo ng lupa sa ibabaw ng lupa or land formations, let it be known that those are also present under the ocean. Look at the picture. Kung may bangin sa kalupaan, meron ding bangin dun sa ilalim ng karagatan. And when these oceanic plates diverge or break up, magma also will come out, and that is why there is a widening of the ocean also, because eventually this magma that has come out will cool down, will be cemented, and will become the new sea floor, and this ocean is said to be widened. What kind of boundary is this? Divergent plate boundaries. So when you diverge, you break up or you move away from each other. What is produced? Mid-ocean ridge or mid-oceanic ridges. Alright, so we are done with the second type of boundary, and that is divergent boundary. What is the first one? Convergent. This second one is divergent. How about the third one? Let's see. The final type of plate boundary is transform boundary, also known as the conservative boundaries. Conservative daw in Filipino. Hindi siya masyadong damage. The plates just move past each other. So they just slide past each other. They just do the touch by touch, but they do not meet, neither they break. In geology, a fault is a crack or breakage or fracture or discontinuity in a volume of rock across which there has been significant displacement along Earth's crust. So basically, there is no land form being created here. There is just a disalignment or certain movement. Of course, that is earthquake when this transform boundary moves. So those are the three types of plate boundaries: convergent, divergent, and transform boundary. Moving on. Let's now go to your activity 1, and it is entitled, Who am I? Who am I? Pinaarte lang na name me or simply identification. Let me read the procedure. Study the plate illustrations below and identify, sabi ko na, di ba? The types of plate boundaries. Multiple choice pa siya. Choose your answers from the box and write the correct answers on the blanks provided. Very easy. Common sense lang guys talaga if you are taking things like this. So, focus on the arrows. What is happening between the two arrows? They are moving away from each other. Plate A is moving to the left and plate B is moving to the right, saying goodbye to each other. So what is your answer? Is it convergent, divergent, or transform boundary? Sinabi ko na yung sagot. Pag hindi mo na-gets, i-replay mo. That is the first item. Next. Ang dali lang, di ba? So, huwag kayong ma-stress. No depression allowed. No stress allowed. Module ka lang. Okay? Hindi man kita ma-perfect, maganda pa rin ako. Yun dapat ang peg nyo. Huwag niyong isipin papapasukin sa puso at isip niyo yung depression na yan. Ayan. Next item or illustration. We have here, follow my highlighter. Kasi nung first video ko, akala ko nakikita yung arrow ko. Hindi pala, no? Ayan. Plate A is moving to the right and plate B is moving to the left. Plate A, plate B. Parang baliktad sa video ko, ano? In short, they are meeting. They are coming together. Okay? Mag-eyeball sila. Kumbaga sa meeting sa, ka-textmate. Ka na nga textmate. Sa textmate, yon. So, what is your answer? Is it convergent, divergent, or transform? Sinabi ko na naman yung sagot. Kapag hindi mo na-gets, replay mo. And then, I think this is the last illustration for activity 1. Okay, doon ka na, anak. Please excuse my son, Prince. Alright, so we have here plate A, which is going up, and plate B, that is going down. Naisagot mo na si convergent, naisagot mo na si divergent. Siyempre, isasagot mo rin yung pangatlo. These arrows do not meet, neither they break. So, they just slide past each other. And what kind of boundary is that? Convergent, divergent, or transform? Parang bonus lang pala tong activity 1, guys. Minsan, akala mo lang mahirap. Yung pala, kailangan mo lang intindihin. Parang sa buhay din yan. Akala mo mahirap. Yung pala, kailangan mo lang maintindihan. Yeah? Ganun lang. Di move on na tayo. Mag-move on na. Next. Ganda sana ito kapag personal. May friendly reminder or request. Ang daming nanood ha, pero hindi pa sila subscribers. So, sana mag-subscribe, like, share. Okay, this is not required, but if you will, then thank you very much para mas marami pang makalaman na may ganitong ganap or video so we could help more. Ayan. So, this is my son. Ang kulit-kulit. Ayaw umalis. Okay. Go there now, guys. Mommy is teaching. Okay? Okay. Let's go to activity 2. What a boundary. Follow up lang ulit. Okay. Dumami lang yung pictures and more practical. This is actually the application of those kinds of plate boundaries. Okay, procedure. Match the following pictures with their corresponding term. Choose the answer from the box and write the correct word on the blanks provided. When I scan your activity sheets in my soft copy, there are 10 items of this kind. And there are only 3 choices. Common sense, you just have to repeat for you to answer all those 10 items. In Filipino, kasi yung iba, nag-aalala na, worried. Ma'am, 10 yung sasagutan, pero 3 lang yung pagpipilian. Hello, di ulit-ulitin. Hindi naman masamang umulit, basta tamang pag-uulit. Ang masama, mali na nga, inulit mo pa. Di ba? Hugot. Ang saya sana to pag sa face-to-face, sana mawala na si COVID. Ayan, number 1. What is shown in the first picture? We have here mountain ranges. Na-discuss ko kanina, how mountain ranges are formed. So, what kind of boundary is involved? Choose among these three. Convergent, divergent, or transform. That is number 1, mountain ranges. Ma'am, hindi ko na-gets. O di i-replay mo dun sa part na yon. That is the purpose of this recording, So you could replay whenever you need to. Ang arte ni Ma'am May, no? Okay, number 2. Okay, focus on the arrows. On top, we have the water. Of course, that is the oceanic crust. Subducting. Oceanic crust lang naman ang nagsasubduct, right? Never the continental. And the arrows will tell you the answer. Arrows that are colliding or going towards each other. Pili na kayo. Convergent, divergent, or transform boundary. Moving on. In number 3, can you see my highlighter? There is a crack. Originally, of course, this part of the continent or the continental crust has no hole or crack here. So what happened? What kind of plate movement just happened here? Why did it break? Bakit nagkaroon ng crack or paghihiwalay? Sinabi ko na, hiwalay. Break up. So, what is your answer? Easy naman, guys. Hindi ito nakaka-stress, nakakasaya. Okay. Kasi ma'am colored. Kaya nga, di ba? That is why I'm recording. Because you have your black and white. Number 4, what is in the picture? As you can notice, there is a diver. Look at my highlighter. Mayroong diver doon, lumalangoy. So, what kind of crust is this? Under the ocean. So, this is oceanic crust. And the floor of the ocean is not flat or plain. In Filipino, hindi siya patag. You can see ridges. Ridges. In Filipino, parang bangin. There is a deeper part. This could also be a trench. Either a trench or ridges, still you will answer the same kind of boundary, guys. Presence of mind. Next, ang pangit ng boses ko pero hayaan nyo na. Basta mag-explain ako. Pinakinggan ko sa record, ang pangit. Next, number 5. There is no breaking. But this part of the land is being cracked and disaligned. Magkadikit pa din naman sila, unlike sa number 3 na naghiwalay. Ito, magkadikit pero nagulo-gulo. Because there is a movement. May paggalaw na nangyari. Nag-touch by touch sila. Sinabi ko na naman. My goodness. Because I want you to take this easy. That is number 5. Magkadikit. Hindi sila naghiwalay. Hindi rin sila nagtagpo. Hindi sila nag-collide. Basta magkadikit sila and nag-move sila. Touch by touch. Ganon din si number 6. Look at the road. Of course, originally, this road is straight and has no crack here. But, this part of the boundary or plate boundary move. This part of the road is not cracked with a space, unlike number 3. But, it is being disaligned. So, may sliding na nangyayari, movement. Sinabi ko na naman. Number 6. Gets nyo? Gets nyo yan. Huwag ma-stress. Hintayin ang explanation ni Teacher Mylene. Okay, number 7 na tayo. The same thing happens in number 7. This railway or release ng tren is being disaligned. In Filipino, nawala sa linya yung release. Why? Because under is a ground movement. What kind of boundary is involved? Take note, there is no braking. There is no land formation formed on top. There is only an alignment. In Filipino, nagulo lang yung pagkaka-straight ng release. So what kind of movement or plate boundary is involved? They just move, sliding past each other. Number 8. Ayun, very easy naman si number 8. Basta, you just focus on the arrows. By mere looking at the arrows, you can already tell the answer. So there are 2 arrows moving away from each other, and under is a coming out magma or a magma that is coming out. Minsan yung English ko, nababangking. Well, at least you understand, Parang yung mga answers nyo din, minsan Carabao English, but still I got it. I get it. Arrows moving away from each other. Convergent, divergent, transform. Easy. Easy, easy. Ayun, number 8. Tapos ka na, madali ka lang. Number 9 na tayo, guys. What is in the picture? Alright, so you can see volcanic arc, island arc. When there is volcano, of course there is magma. And how does magma form? How does magma form? Bakit nagkakaroon ng magma? Because there is melting whenever subduction occurs. And subduction occurs only when plate boundaries meet, especially if the oceanic crust is involved. Nasabi ko na, meet. So what kind of boundary is involved in number 9? Hindi ko na-gets, madam. Balikan muna naman yung part na iyon. Number 10. Bonus ulit si number 10, guys. Look at the arrows. They are not going to each other, or they are not meeting, they are not breaking, but they are just sliding past each other. This is what happened to the this railway and the road in the previous slide, guys. So what is this? Is it convergent? Is it divergent? Or is it transform? Ang bait kong tutor, no? Kasi halos sinasagot ko na. But, what I want to tell you is that please do not memorize. Please understand. Why? Because these things will also be taught in college as your basic requirement in science. And if you forgot, then you will go from the start again, and that is somewhat stressful. So never memorize, but understand, comprehend. Isa puso. One way of knowing if you really understood this is that you can explain it in your own way. Yung sa Pilipino, na ikukwento mo siya, na ipapaliwanag mo siya sa sarili mong version. Retaining the correct concept. And that is what we call comprehension, not memorization. Okay? Talastas. Okay, so we are now on the last activity. Number 3. What is the title? Diagnose and explain. What is meant by diagnose? Just like in the hospital, when you go there, the doctor will check you up and see what is wrong in our body. So in this activity, you will just investigate this picture, look at every corner, and fill out these spaces. Let me read the procedures, guys. Number 1. The picture below shows the different direction of the arrows, and above these arrows shows the impacts on the surface of the Earth's ground. Right, so you have here the arrows showing the movement of the boundaries. There is moving away, moving together, and sliding past each other. And on top are the impacts or the effects, the land formations that resulted from the certain movements. And then number 2, study the picture below, then identify the types of boundary it pertains to and explain your answers on the space provided for. Alright, so in these boxes, guys, number 1, 2, 3, and 4, you will write either convergent, divergent, or transform boundary. Ma'am, there are 4. Yes, because one of the choices will be repeated. Okay, how about these spaces, these blanks? You will explain why did you answer divergent, for example. Why did you answer transform? Why did you answer divergent? Why did you answer convergent again? Something like that. So how will you explain? You will just explain what you can see in this picture and what made you answer that. For example, in number 1, let's see number 1. What happens to the arrows in number 1? There is an arrow going down, and there is also an arrow that is going up. Alright, so what kind of boundary is that? Is it convergent, divergent, or transform? And why? Why did you answer? And then you explain it in these blanks. Actually, I'm already telling you why this is convergent or divergent, transform. How about in number 2? Okay, the arrows in number 2 are moving away from each other. This is happening on the blue part, and this blue part, of course, is the ocean. What kind of boundary is involved when the arrows or the plate boundaries are moving away from each other? I'm already answering. Number 3. Okay, this is the same as number 1. They are meeting or colliding against each other. The only difference is that in number 1 is the convergence between oceanic and continental, while in number 3, that is a collision or convergence of both continental crust. And this corresponds to the land formations on top. Nagets nyo yun, guys? Pareho lang yung sagot nyo dapat sa number 1 and number 3. Pareho silang nagbabanggaan. But, in number 1, merong oceanic na kasali. Kaya nga may vulkan dyan, oh. And then sa number 3, nagbabanggaan din, pero pareho silang continental. So, they both go up. That is why you can see mountain ranges on top of number 3. Binigyan ko na kayo ng clue, ha. Pareho ang sagot sa number 1 at number 3. Number 4, in your activity sheet, I know this will be more difficult for you because you have your black and white. But at least we are recording for this purpose, for you to see the pictures more effectively. So look at the arrows for number 4. They are not breaking nor colliding, but they are just sliding past each other. And there is a disalignment. Andun na yung mga explanation na dapat nyong ilagay sa mga spaces na ito. Okay? So that is the first part of activity 3. Moving on. Ayan, so we have here the only one key question for activity 3. This is just the wrap up. So in your own opinion, describe the 3 types of plate boundaries. Meaning you will just explain these 3 types of plate boundaries in your own version, the way you understood. How do they differ from each other? How one type moves and how they affect the events and formations on the Earth's surface. Alright, I hope you understood something from this video, and this will make your module legends easier. Module legends. Get ready, your brain is under attack, sabi sa mga memes but if you will just take it easy and understand this, your life will be easier. So God bless and enjoy your module. Okay, so this is all for now. Happy learning. Love, Teacher Mylene. Until next time, bye.
Bye-bye.
Take it easy, guys.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.